Jai Gurudev students, welcome in this science class. Now today we will start chapter number 3. Okay, so chapter number 3 is separation of substances. According to new book, there is a slight difference between the old book and new book. Means matter is almost same. Don't worry about that. If you have old book, then also you can study properly, and if you have new book, then also there is no much difference. Okay, so we will start this chapter, separation of substances, with the pure and impure substances. First of all, I want to tell you that what are the pure substances. Means when we say that any substance is pure, when any substance is made up of same kind of molecules, then we can say only the substance is pure. Okay, so you can see here I am drawing two beakers, and these two beakers, here I am making the molecules with the white color. Means same color of molecules are here, so we can easily say that these are the pure molecules, because these are the made up of same kind of molecules. But here, if we draw in this way, some molecules are white in color and some molecules are purplish color, or you can make with a black color or any color you can use. Here we can say that this substance is pure. By observing both the substances, we can easily identify that this is a pure substance and this is a impure substance, because here pure substance is made up of same kind of molecules, but impure substance is made up of the different kind of molecules. Here I have drawn two different kind of molecules, but it may be two or more than two. Okay, so pure substances and impure substances, if we understand, then we can easily separate them. So second thing or second topic is there, that why there is a need to separate the substances. Children, there is a need to separate the substances because of three reasons. Why? First answer of your why is, first point, to remove the non-essential things, or we can say to remove unwanted substances which we don't want. Just like in food substances also we can take example. Then if your mother cooks rice, suppose if any pebbles or some small stones are present in that rice, then your mother, before cooking or before boiling the rice, she must be separating all these pebbles from the rice, because those pebbles or those small stones are unwanted materials for us. Okay, we want rice, not those pebbles. So in this way we can easily understand that we want to remove the unwanted material. That's why we separate the substances. And second reason is to get pure substance. Means we want purity of that particular substance. That's why we need to separate the things, two things. And third thing is to separate useful items, or we can say useful material, from the non-useful things. Okay, so on the basis of these three criteria, we can separate the substances, or there is a need to separate the substances because we want ultimately pure substance and remove the waste material. So in this chapter many methods of separating the substances they have given here, and we will study one by one about all these methods. So first method, children, they have given about hand picking method. As you know that when both the substances are different in color, or we can say different in size, especially when there is a difference in color, then if the waste material is very less in amount, that time we use the hand picking method. Hand picking means by picking with the hand we can separate the unwanted substances. Just like we remove waste material or some stony substances from our pulses, from our rice, with the help of our hand, easily we can pick up and we can separate it. And that method, because we are using hands here for picking the waste materials and separating the waste materials, that's why this method is called hand picking method. Okay, and second method here they have given, first is what we studied, hand picking method, and second method they have shown in your book that threshing and winnowing. Threshing and winnowing, these are the two methods which are related to the separation of grains from husk. Means when wheat, or we can say rice crops, that farmers, they harvested the crops, they cut down the crop, and after that they separate the grains from that waste, dry waste, husk or chaff, we can call that waste material, जिसको आप हिंदी में भूसा भी बोलते हो. Okay, that is a best fodder for animals or cattle. But that we can separate that waste material by these two methods, threshing and winnowing. Means these both the methods collectively we can use them. In case of threshing, we separate grains from the stalk portion. Okay, and with the help of machines which are called threshers, farmers separate the grains with the help of machines nowadays. But olden days people used to separate these grains with the manually, means with the help of hands, and they beat the stalks, and then grains can be separated in that way. But nowadays mechanically farmers are doing this work. After threshing, now we are having grains, and little bit chaff is also present in that. Chaff means, I told you, that dry material which is a dry covering of seeds, and that is mixed now along with the grains, and that grains people are separating with the help of winnowing method. Winnowing means with the help of winnowing is a kind of machine also. With this process we can do with the help of machine nowadays. But at home also you must have seen your mother by doing this method. I'll show you the picture of this winnowing process. Just here you can see, this is the winnowing method. Okay, with the help of this tool we can separate the grain from its husk. Okay, and here air is required in case of winnowing. With the help of air we separate the grains from husk. Grains are heavier and that's why grains fall near us, and with the help of air the chaff will fly away from us, and in this way both can be separated easily. Okay, so this is about the threshing and winnowing. After threshing and winnowing, our next method of separation is sieving. Sieving. Sieving, you know that sieving means chhana. Okay, anything we can sieve, but on the basis of the size of the particle we can use the sieve. Sieve, I want to show you that simple, this also can be used as sieve. Okay, if we want to separate, it is called strainer also. When we use it for filtration of tea leaves and tea in a cup, so that time we can use as a strainer because we are straining the tea. And if we want to separate two things, suppose in our wheat flour, if some grains of rice or some grains of wheat anytime fall in our flour, so we can easily separate with the help of this sieve. Okay, so this is a sieving method. Best you can understand, you must have seen where construction work is going on. At that place you can see how the laborers, they are separating the sand from stones with the help of sieve. But that sieve depend on the material. There they want to separate sand from that stones or pebbles, and that's why they use little bit bigger holed sieve. Okay, holes can be selected on the basis of the material which we want to separate. Okay, so this is about the sieving, how we can separate the material on the with the help of sieving. And in this method we generally consider the size of the material, both the material which we want to separate. So after sieving, our next topic is filtration. Filtration method we can use this method to separate or to filter out the any liquid substance from any solid substance. Suppose if we mix sand in water, okay, and under this filtration we will study two more terms. First one is, I am giving its name A, that is sedimentation. Sedimentation, and B, decantation. Decantation. Sedimentation and decantation we will study under the filtration. Means when we want to filter water, let's consider the example of water. If we want to filter the water, then what we have to do? First we do sedimentation. Okay, what is sedimentation? Let's see. Students, I am having a glass of water, so you can easily see here in glass I have taken water, and here this is a sand, So it includes some soil particles also, means it is not a pure sand, soil also present in it. And if I mix in this and stir it well, means I mix it well in this water, then after some time, suppose in our home, if sometime we want to use water for washing purposes or some other purposes, if water is dirty like this, okay, so how we can use water? We just keep without touching this water at any fixed place, okay, you keep it at any place like I am keeping here. So after some time we can see that this water has some suspended particles. Suspended particles means which are floating on the water or which are moving here there in the water. They start settling slowly at the bottom of the tumbler or at the bottom of this glass. And after that settlement, when water settle down that suspended particles or particles of sand, if they settle properly, then we can say that this is sedimentation, means settling down of suspended particle in the liquid is called sedimentation. Means if we keep this material for a long time, then we can say that water is or material is a sediment in a sedimentation state. Okay, after sedimentation, then what we do? Let's see. Here now sedimentation process now taken place. Now you can see easily that at the bottom of this tumbler, here all the sand particles, they settled down, okay, and these sand particles now settled down. Now sedimentation process is completed, okay. And what is decantation? In decantation method, without shaking or without giving jerk to this water, slowly we can separate this water in another container, okay, and in this way we can get clean water. We can't say pure water, but clean water we can get in this way, okay. So separation of these these two substances, water and sand, in this way by pouring into another utensil is called decantation, okay. So I think now you understood that what is sedimentation. Settling down is called sedimentation, and when we separate the clean water in another tumbler, so that process of separating the clean water from the sand is called decantation. Okay children, so this is about the decantation. So when we separate these two things, then also we know that little bit soil particles are left behind in our water, okay. So how we separate them? To those soil particles we can separate with the help of filter paper, okay. This is a simple paper, but I tell you that how we can use the filter paper. We just fold the filter paper and we make cone of it, okay. In this way we make two fold. First you fold like this, okay, this is the plain paper, and first we make one fold, then another fold also, then here from this part we join, and easily we can make a cone from it. And filter paper we keep on any beaker or any tumbler and we pour the that dirty water in this, and through the filter paper we can filter the water also. Okay, so this process is called filtration process, in which filter paper is used, and with the help of filter paper we can easily filter out the liquids, and in that the liquid which is going through the filter paper in the beaker or in the your glass, that water is called, clean water is called filtrate, and whatever left or suspended particles which are present in the water previously, now that will come on the or stay on the filter paper, that are called residue. Okay, filtrate and residue, two words you also remember in the process of filtration. Okay, so this is about the filtration, sedimentation, decantation, and our next method is magnetic separation. Our fifth method of separating substances is magnetic separation. Magnetic separation is a technique, very simple technique. You can also do at your home. You can try to do this one, this activity, small activity I will show you. With the help of magnet, you know that iron objects or iron things are attracted to the magnet always. So if any iron nails or any iron materials are present in any of the other material, then we can easily separate out those material with the help of this method, means by the use of magnet. Okay, and how we can use it? Suppose I told you that I have sand here. In this sand, I use this sand on a piece of paper. Suppose, see here, I am putting sand in this. We can take an example of our food material also. If any of your pulses, your this wheat flour or rice, if anywhere some these iron objects fall down by mistake, then you can easily separate out by the use of magnet. Okay, so I am having this magnet. You know that magnets are coming in different shape. Okay, so I am having this magnet, and how I will separate? You see that here in sand many staple pins I have used here, stapler pin, and these stapler pins we can easily separate them with the help of this magnet. Okay, and once you move through this sand, all the stapler pins I have separated with the help of this method. Okay, what we call this method? This is magnetic separation. Okay, it's a work of enjoyment also. You must be doing at home with the magnet. All the children like to play so much, I know, and this is the common thing which we learn here, means with the use of magnet how we can separate the iron things from our food materials or from our valuable things. Okay, So here I have only given example of this sand, and after this is about the magnetic separation. And children, after this, in your book, in old book they have given topic, next topic is evaporation and condensation. So in new book we will see that in new book also they have given evaporation and condensation only. So let's study about the evaporation and condensation. What is evaporation? First we see evaporation and condensation, because these two processes also take place together, one after other. So we are studying collectively. First is evaporation. You know that water always evaporate in the form of water vapors. When sunlight fall on any water bodies, or if we talk about your clothes, your wet clothes, you know that when we wash our clothes and we hang on the wire for drying them, and how they become dry? Due to the process of evaporation. Evaporation, in this process what will happen? Water which is in the liquid form, it changes from the liquid form to gaseous form. In the form of water vapors, it goes to the atmosphere, and with the help of sunlight or heat of anything, this water can be changed into water vapors. If we boil water on our gas stove, then also at that time water change from water state to vapor state. So that time we can say that process is evaporation. Okay. Drying of cloth is also due to evaporation. You can take example of any thing. And you know children, when these water vapors go in the atmosphere, and atmosphere also has air, and air holds so many water molecules in it at very high place. These water molecules hanging in the suspended form. Okay. And when so many water molecules continuously evaporating from the earth and goes to the atmosphere, then that atmosphere can't hold so much water vapors. Okay. And at that place, because it is of so much height, and at that height conditions are very cool, and at that place water vapors again change into water. Okay. It is means they form cloud there, because of cold condition they change into clouds. So that time when water vapors again form the clouds in the form of, they cool down and form clouds, that process is called condensation. Okay. Due to condensation, clouds are formed, and after the formation of clouds, when clouds are so heavy, that time they fall in the form of again water, in the form of rain on the earth. Okay. So this is about the evaporation and condensation. This process you can understand at your home also. When you cook anything in pressure cooker, you can see that when you open pressure cooker, you will see that so many water vapors that they stick to the lid of your pressure cooker. How this happening? With the help of heat, that water evaporates in the form of water vapors. Okay. So evaporation takes place first, and when water vapor cool down at the lid level, so then again that water vapors change from gaseous state to liquid state. That process is called condensation. Okay. So these are the two processes we can understand here. Okay, here also they have mentioned in the old book and new book, same thing. So after this, our next process is sublimation. Okay, seventh your topic or method of separation is sublimation. What is in the sublimation? Sublimation. So what is sublimation? You can understand better from camphor. Camphor means kapoor. You know that all the matter or all the things have three states. Okay, solid, liquid and gas. They exist in three states, just like water. Water exists in a solid form, in the form of ice. Water is a liquid state and water vapors or steam is a gaseous state. Okay, so water also exists in these three states. In the same way, many of the liquid, many of the things, they exist in three states. But sometimes some of the substances, they directly convert from solid state to the gaseous state. Okay, without undergoing the liquid state. Means they not convert into liquid then into gas. If you take example of water first, when we take out ice from refrigerator, it will change into water. Okay, if we heat that water, then again that water can be converted into water vapors or steam. But here we are taking example of camphor. You know that kapoor, when you burn kapoor or this camphor, then what will happen? Children, you burn it and see. If you have not seen, you can see that camphor burn without undergoing the liquid state. Okay, it will not change from solid to liquid. Kapoor or camphor is existing in a solid state, and if we burn it, it will directly change from solid state into gaseous state. Okay, it will evaporate not evaporate, we can say it will change into gaseous state, and there is no liquid left behind. Okay, so we can say that camphor is showing sublimation. Means this is the process in which any of the solid that changes from solid state to its gaseous state without undergoing the liquid state. Okay, so this is called sublimation. So let's see what after this, what is there in your chapter. 7 method of separation we have learned here. Yes, next here in old book they have given distillation, but in your new book distillation is not given in the new book, but we have to learn about the distillation method also, because distillation is a simple process. Means in case of distillation, what will happen? Let's we write first what is distillation. Distillation. In this process, we can separate the pure liquid from other substances. Means other same kind of liquids. Suppose if in water some other liquid is mixed, just like some ink or milk, some drops of milk if fall in our water, then water can be easily separated with the help of this distillation method. In this method, any liquid can be boiled at certain degree of temperature. You know that every liquid has its own boiling temperature in which that liquid boils and convert into gaseous state, vapor state. Okay. If we talk about water, then water boils at 100 degrees Celsius temperature. Okay. Water requires this 100 degrees Celsius temperature, and at this temperature you will only get water, nothing else. Understand? Because milk has its separate boiling point. At 100 degrees Celsius temperature, we can only get water vapors. So in this way, we can separate any liquid by knowing its boiling point. We provide that much heat or that much temperature so that it can be raised to its boiling point, and at that point we can separate that liquid, because that liquid will change into vapors at the boiling point, and then we slide in the sliding way, we put a column so that water vapors or any liquid which we are separating by distillation method, that vapors can be collected in through that column. Okay, in any utensil you can collect that distilled water. In this method, by this method, distilled water is prepared. You know that distilled water, have you heard the name of distilled water, which is coming in the market in the packed bottles? So that is called distilled water. How they are prepared? They are preparing by this technique, just to boil them, and they collect the water vapors in separate columns so that they get pure water, nothing else. Okay. So children, this is about the distillation. And after this, one more method is given in your book, that is coagulation. Coagulation. Coagulation is also called loading. Okay, children, I have shown you this activity. At that time, I shown you that we studied about the sedimentation and decantation here. So you know that that sand particles or soil particles which are suspended in the water, that settle down slowly. Okay, this process naturally it takes place very slowly, but if we add some chemicals means particular chemicals are there which help in sedimentation process, means which put load on the particles of these soil particles or sand particles which are lighter in weight, and they put load on them so that they settle down very fast, and easily we can separate out clean water from dirty water. Okay, so in this process we generally use this fitkari. You are using at your home. If you don't know, you ask your parents. Your parents can tell you. And that fitkari which you use at home, its scientific name is alum. Okay, this alum we use for loading purpose. Loading means how to load we put load, this elm or fitkari put load on the soil particles so that they becomes heavy and they settle down fastly or easily. Okay, and this method in which this loading process is going on, that is called coagulation. Understand? This is the coagulation method. Means because of this method we can get clean water. Okay, when we want to clean a tub of water, we simply put little bit elm fitkari in that, and automatically that water become clean by settling down. All the dirty particles, dirt or dust can settle down. After some time you can easily separate out the clean water by decantation method. Means slightly you tilt it and separate the clean water. Okay children, so this is about your method of separation. So next here they have given about the separating liquid from liquid. How we can separate liquid from liquid? Liquid from liquid means just like that, if water and oil both are, you know that they are immiscible. Okay, two terms I want to tell you first before explaining this part. Two terms are there. One first is miscible liquids. Miscible liquids, and second are immiscible liquids. What are the miscible liquids? Those liquids are called miscible liquids which are which can mix with each other uniformly, and we can't separate, or we can't see them separately. Okay, those liquids are called miscible. Means if they mix together we can't see them separately. Just like here you can take example of water and milk, water and ink also. If you put milk in water and if you mix it well, after mixing you can't see that this is water and here this is milk. Okay, because milk particles or these water molecules and milk molecules, they mix together uniformly. So that is an example of miscible liquid. But some liquids are immiscible, which will not mix with each other. Okay, and they form separate layers. Here you can take as an example of water and oil. You know that oil is always forming a layer at the top of the water, okay, at the surface of water, and that oil can easily be separated. Means immiscible liquids we can separate out easily because they form heterogeneous mixture. On the basis of this also we can study about two kind of liquids also, homogeneous liquid and heterogeneous liquid, and homogeneous mixture, heterogeneous mixture, that we will study afterward. First we will see that how we can separate out miscible liquids from immiscible liquid. There is a instrument or apparatus which is available in the lab, that is called separating funnel. Okay, with the help of that separating funnel we can easily separate out oil from water. Okay, by putting in the separating funnel, its diagram is given in your book. You can see this one. This is the diagram of separating funnel, and with the help of separating funnel we can easily separate out oil from water. Okay, and after this, in old book, new book homogeneous and heterogeneous they have not written, but here in new book they have reduced little of the portion, but don't worry, you should know about these, that how we can understand the homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture. Children, that homo means same. If after mixing two things, here we can take example of solids, solid or solid liquid. So first term they have given homogeneous mixture. If two things which are mixed with each other to form a mixture and they uniformly mix with each other, which we can't see them separately, that time we can say that it is a homogeneous mixture. Here you can take example of salt. If we take example of solids, then we can take example of salt and wheat flour. You know, then if we put salt in wheat flour, if after mixing we can't see them separately. Okay, so this is a best example of homogeneous mixture. But if we talk about the heterogeneous mixture, then heterogeneous mixture, both the substances or more than one substances also can mix. Here we can make heterogeneous mixture by mixing more than two substances, and when we mix them, after mixing also we can separately see them clearly. Okay, here you can take example of that chuda, which you generally make at home. It's a common example. I am giving you your daily life examples, which you can with the help of that you can understand better that how heterogeneous substances are formed. Khichdi, you can take example of heterogeneous substances. Okay, because here when you use your mother cooking khichdi, she use vegetables, she use rice, pulses, or many things we add in that khichdi. After cooking also you can easily see that there is a separate vegetables, separate rice, and that pulses also separately visible in that. And here you can take example of mixture also, mixture namkeen, which is coming in the market, and that also you can take example of heterogeneous mixture. In that you can see that they are using roasted groundnuts, roasted rice flakes, which is called poha. Okay, and some seo or some kind of pulses also they used to mix in that, dry fruits also, and many things they mix together to make a mixture namkeen. Okay, and that is a best example of heterogeneous mixture. Understand? So here I am giving you examples, common examples, so that you can understand that what is the meaning of homogeneous and what is the meaning of heterogeneous. Okay, after this, in this chapter they have mentioned about the water and when we make any kind of solution. So these terms which I am going to tell you now, these terms are very, very important terms, children. You take care and listen properly, because these terms you will study in the higher classes also, and in every class in chemistry part teachers will ask you. So that's why you think properly and listen properly what I am explaining here. So here we are taking example of water. Okay. Water is called a universal solvent. Universal solvent. So first of all, I am telling you that what is a solvent and solute. Okay. So water is called, I told you, water is called a universal solvent. So what is a universal solvent? So solvent word, what is a solvent? Solvent is that kind of substance in which any other liquid or solid can be mixed. Understand? Here water is a solvent. You know that most of the things we can dissolve in water. So that's why we can say that water is a universal solvent, means most of the substances can be dissolved in water. So water is solvent, water act as solvent. Okay. So other liquids also act as solvent, but water is a main example, or we can say it's a common example. You can easily understand. So that's why I am taking example of water. If we add salt or sugar, suppose if we add salt in water, then what will happen? Here solvent is a water and salt is a solute. Means the thing or the substance which we dissolve in water is called solute. Or in other words, we can say the substance which is dissolved in the solvent is called solute. Understand? Here what we are doing? Water acts as solvent. So solvent is that substance in which we mix anything or we dissolve anything. But solute, what is solute? Solute is that substance which is dissolved in the solvent or water. Understand? So salt is example of solute and solvent is example of water. And when both mix together or when we dissolve both the substances, then what we get from these two? They will form solution. Understand? Solution is a material or substance which is prepared by the use of solvent and solute. So these are the three terms which are very important for your that higher classes. Okay, and in higher classes you will study about these three terms. Okay students, so this is all about this chapter. And one thing I want to tell you, that students don't worry about the exercise part and that question answers. Question answers we will frame our own. Teachers have already framed question answers by considering both the books. Okay, and that question answers you write down and learn them. And exercises, we try to give you exercises from the old book also and new books also. If you have old book, you can learn from the old book that exercise, and if you have new book, you try to fill that exercise your own. If any problem comes, if any answer you will not get, and you can ask me personally on my personal number. Okay, so there is no much difference in the syllabus of new book and old book. Some of the students have query regarding this, that we have little bit change in the new book and old book. So students, we are considering both the books here, but better you go with the new book. Purchase new book if you can. Okay, so this is all about the third chapter. I'll send you notes. First you see the video and learn or read all the topics, and afterward I'll give you that notes also. Okay, so Jai Gurudev.